Everybody, welcome back to the Brood for Life podcast. Just want to remind you guys to jump on the Instagram page, jump on the YouTube page, check out everything that we got going on, and let me know what you think. This week, my little one turned 3 years old. And for anybody who is currently raising a little one or has had a little one, you know that the 2 to 3 year old range can be an absolute nightmare. It can be a test of your patience. It can be everything from a heartwarming day to if I had one more strand of hair on the top of my head, I would probably pull it out kind of a day. So I just wanted to kind of get into some of those things. And let's be honest, when you have a 3-year-old, the time that you do have to sit down is usually disrupted by some form of thing. And with our little one, it's Daddy, Mommy, can I have your phone? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I use it to do phones? Can I use it to do trains? Can I do like it is absolutely wild how much this little one wants to have something to stimulate him and something to be able to reenact something that he has learned over the last month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever the case may be. It's also wild the things that kind of come out of his mouth at different times. For instance, this morning, we're getting him ready to go to his grandma's house, and it's cold out up here, so we're putting his jacket on, and he's getting ready to get ready to go outside. And I was like, come on, buddy, let's put your hat on. And he goes, no, I don't want my hat on. And I said, well, buddy, it's cold outside. And he goes, nope, can you please put it in my backpack, please? Like, come on, man. I don't ever remember my oldest saying those kind of things when he was at that 3-year-old range. I think all he wanted to do was watch backyardigans, and he really didn't have much interest in having books read to him. He just wanted to do his own thing. And Cameron is so different in every attribute of being a 3-year-old. Some of the things that go on, which anybody again who has a little one, it would surprise me if you didn't deal with the same kind of stuff that we see. And one of them is when he wants a snack. He'll go over to the cabinet, he'll start digging through. He won't know exactly what he wants. He looks at everything, you point at everything. Do you want this? Do you not want that? Would you like this? Would you like that? And then you maybe move to the things in the refrigerator, like, would you like some berries? Would you like an apple? Would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like banana? He knows he wants a snack. He knows that he's hungry. He knows he wants something, but he doesn't know what it is. So you go through everything. You stand there for 15 minutes with him, and you're asking him several times over the course of these 15 minutes, renaming all the same things. And he still goes, no, no, no. And then we say to him, all right, bud, when you're ready to decide what it is you want, we can get it. No, but I want a snack. How many parents are out there that deal with that same kind of thing? Then when you don't give them the snack, it could, not always. Sometimes he just moves on. Other times it's now we're going to have a meltdown about not getting a snack. But it's not even that we denied him a snack. It's more of the fact that he couldn't decide on a snack. Again, like I don't remember Ian kind of running into that stuff when he was that age. He just kind of took whatever we gave him. But Cameron is very different. Very, very, very different. He wants to do everything on his own at this point. He even tries to walk up the stairs without holding onto the railing, and he always wants to do whatever it is that he wants to do when he wants to do it. Sometimes even he speaks in a manner like he's the one that's in charge and he's the one who gets to make the decisions and whatever. And I know it's just him testing boundaries, but it's absolutely wild that his brain is thinking at a speed where he is able to comprehend all of this. He's definitely at the age where language is very important. As you listen to the podcast, I definitely use some choice words here and there to be able to describe different things. And I'll say, fuck this, and that's bullshit, and all of those kind of things. And now Audrey constantly has to remind me, like, watch your language, because he is literally repeating all of it. verbatim, word for word, giving it right back exactly how you said it. He's not so bad at repeating it when we tell him he shouldn't say that and that those are bad words. But the fact that he picks it up exactly is one thing that we really need to be careful of. And it's definitely more so me than it is Audrey. Audrey's great at remembering to kind of watch her P's and Q's and mind her mouth and whatever. I am at best kind of a loose cannon when it comes to the words. And I definitely need to get better at it because I don't want him picking that stuff up. I definitely don't want him to go into daycare and saying shit and fuck and ass and whatever else. And I'm not great at it. And at times I am absolutely failing at it. And I don't know how to be more mindful about it because he is so smart and because he does pick up on things so quickly and he does regurgitate all those things so quickly. Is it just my kid that's doing this? Is this the new norm for 3-year-olds that like you hand them a tablet and they're able to figure it out when you put together a bunch of words to say something and they regurgitate every single word in the exact order right back to you. I don't know. If it is, then maybe I am getting old and maybe I do think that there's more of a gradual process of learning how to do these things than there really is. Maybe this generation truly is much smarter than we give them credit for. I don't know, but I don't think I could be the only one that's dealing with this. And I can't be the only one whose 3-year-old does all of these things. Like this weekend, he was all over the place this weekend, obviously, with the birthday party going on, and we had a bunch of people at the house and whatever. And his grandparents, his Gigi and G-Pod, gave him like one of those play school kind of kitchens. His Gigi looks at him and says, Cameron, can you make me some pasta? And he looks at her and he goes, Pasta? Coming right up. Where did he get that from? We don't say those kind of things in the kitchen. Like, we don't ever say those things at any time. Where did he learn to say, repeat what it is that you ordered and then say, coming right up? Where did he get this stuff from? Is it coming from some of the shows and stuff that they watch now? And which, by the way, I had a conversation with somebody today that about like some of the shows and stuff that are on TV. This is going to go on a complete sidebar, so I'm just warning you. We all knew growing up that maybe some of the things that we watched as a kid and some of the things that Ian's generation watched as a kid, the Barneys, the Backyardigans, the Dora the Explorer, the Handy Mandy, and then, my generation of the Sesame Street, the Mr. Rogers, the Captain Kangaroo. We did have the coolest stuff, which was the early morning cartoons on the weekends. They don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. Probably because it's more available through like Netflix and Hulu and whatever else. But the thing that I think changed everything is we went through a period of time where the cartoons became more adult-like. The Simpsons and the Family Guys, and even to an extent like Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob SquarePants, like they're cartoons, and as an adult, we looked at them like they were cartoons, but there was some very much underlying things that went in those shows that was more adult and more adult forward, and kids probably shouldn't have been watching it than we gave it credit for. And it makes me wonder now, as you watch some of these shows that he watches, like Bluey and Super Y and he was watching Thomas the Train for a long time, and it makes me wonder if there is some kind of like an undertone or a subliminal message that comes along with these shows that creates some of the things that make it much harder to deal with toddlers. Um, I don't know. I am definitely not a conspiracy theorist where like I'm gonna say like they're mixing stuff in our kids' minds, like because I don't know. I mean, it's I just saw a thing today that like the old Popeye cartoons that the whole premise behind him eating spinach was based on, the interaction of what cocaine does to the body. That he would eat spinach and 3 seconds later, all of a sudden he had these superpowers, which I guess happens to be the same thing as cocaine and that the colors were synonymous with packaging and some other things, for the period when that cartoon was on the air. I don't know how true it is, but at the same time, I don't know if I'd be surprised because it's not kids that make these cartoons. They're adults. I don't as much as I think they try to gear it towards kids, there's probably always some piece of it that is very adult forward that because I mean an adult's not a kid and what goes on in their life is not children's stuff. It's adult stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if there really was some kind of an undertone. Like, we definitely know that The Simpsons was not meant for kids, even though when I was a kid, we thought it was for kids, but it was definitely geared towards adults. There's, obviously those suggestions that The Simpsons have predicted like a whole bunch of things. And I think there's definitely some weird nuances that show that yes, they definitely touched on some things, but I don't necessarily think they did it to predict anything. What do you think? Do you believe in all of those underlying things? The other weird thing that I think goes on now is that Cameron really likes to play with blocks. He's always, he's always doing something to do with planets, and he definitely likes reading his books. He does like playing with Play-Doh. He likes coloring. He likes drawing. Like he likes a lot of things that I always thought that those kind of things came later on in life. Like when you hit kindergarten is when you really started to do coloring. And yes, like when you're a toddler, you do painting and stuff, but it's more about the motor skills than it is anything else. But he actually likes to do it. And he forms the things and he calls it different, like, oh, that's a dog, this is a cat, and whatever else. I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those parents that just thinks that everything his kid does is absolutely extraordinary and that like my kid's a fucking genius, but maybe he's not a genius. I don't know. Like he definitely learns things at a quick rate, but he also at times when he does things that I think are way outside of his age and he responds in ways that I think are way outside of his age, then there's always that other side of the coin where like if he falls and hits his foot or any of those kind of things where no, I want mommy and he'll start crying and do all the things that you would expect a 3-year-old to do. It's a very confusing time, I guess I could say as a parent. And like I said, anybody else that has any of the, like a young toddler or a kid kind of going through similar things, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say and what the kind of things you're dealing with out there when it comes to that. With all of that said, and him now being 3 years old, I am so excited about what's going to happen now as we roll into winter because the kid's kind of like a thrill junkie. Like you can't just push him on the swing like a normal kid. He's got to go fast. He's got to go high. He likes going down the slide. He wants to go as fast as he can on the slide. So I'm really excited about this winter and being able to take him sled riding and doing all those things with him that he was not interested in doing last year. And I think he's really going to be into it this year. I'd love to try to get him on some ice skates this year and kind of see where his interest is when it comes to that. This summer's going to be interesting because it's going to be a period of time where we can really start introducing him to sports and he'll be able to um, kind of mimic the soccer, the baseball, the football, the basketball stuff. He's been interested in the basketball stuff because we have one of those preschool things, but it'll be interesting to see if he can pick up some of the skills that are associated with that this spring and summer. So a lot coming up, a lot going on. He's definitely at an age where things are going to start to get funner, which also means that our lives could potentially get a lot busier, but good busy. Stuff that as I had mentioned before, with my oldest, I missed out on a lot of things because working in retail, you don't get those times to be able to enjoy, going to soccer games, going to baseball games, and doing all those things. And I tried to do the best I could to be there, but sometimes when you work, in retail, you don't have all the flexibility to go and enjoy all that stuff. So I'm really excited about, the next let's call it what it is. Like the next 13 years could absolutely be some of the best times for me as a parent because I'll get to be there more often to enjoy those things. I really hope that Cameron is going to be involved in some kind of a sport because like I said, I want to be there to be able to support it. I know his brother would love to be able to go. And, Audrey's family is very sports oriented, so it should be a very, very exciting time. So what do you guys think? What do you think about this time that, as a parent you enter into when, your kid is now past the baby stage and moving into developing who they are as a person and start to developing more likes and doing those likes more often. What did you do as a parent? Did you guide your kid to be focused more on one sport or another? Were you the kind of parent that gave your kid the open freedom to kind of do as many different things as they wanted? And as they decided that maybe some things were not for them, did you support that, or did you push them to try to be a little bit better at them to see if maybe they would enjoy them? I think there's always the two rules of thumb when it comes to being a parent. There's definitely the parents that very focused at certain sports and they drive their kids to do those sports, and when their kid doesn't want to continue to pursue that sport, the parent kind of leans into them a little heavy and has them out there practicing all the time and said, well, maybe if you focus on it a little bit more, you practiced a little more, you'd be better. Are you the parent that pushes them, but when your kid, clearly says that they've had enough and they're not interested and they don't want to do it anymore, are you supportive of that? Or are you the parent that just says, hey, go out there, give it a try. We'll be here for you. We'll support you. And when you don't want to do it anymore, that's fine. Let's find something else. And if you don't want to pursue sports anymore, then that's also okay. There's a lot of back and forth, I mean, that I've seen as far as parents. And from going to some of Ian's games when he was younger and going to some friends, their kids' sporting events, there's definitely a fine line that gets walked. There's the parents that are there that love it and support it and they're there for every attribute of it. And then there's the parents that are extremely vocal and they're yelling and they're screaming and they're yelling at coaches and they're yelling at their kid and all of those things. It makes me wonder, are parents just that involved? Are parents living their lives vicariously through their kid? I'm not sure. I definitely think there's a large percentage of people that live their life vicariously through their kid and try to have their kid be successful where they failed maybe or weren't as successful at sports when they were younger, or maybe they see the opportunity that they didn't take that now they want their kid to take. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for us as parents to have to navigate that and determine which parents do we want to be friends with, and where does Cameron fall into all of that with the kids on the team, and who does he become friends with? Because I am not a pushy parent. I'll be the first one to admit it. I am the one who will be rattled on the inside and frustrated, annoyed, but I will not be the parent that screams and yells at my kid. I will not be the parent that screams and yells at a coach. I will not be the parent that screams and yells at a ref. The fact of the matter is that I will have a conversation with my kid after the game just to kind of see where his head was at, and maybe just kind of go through some of the opportunities and see where they're at. For the most part, these people that coach and ref these games, they're volunteers and they have kids out there doing it too. To bombard them with our nonsense of why did you put my kid in that situation? Why is my kid not playing? And don't talk to my kid like that and whatever else. You have to put trust in these people to do the right thing. I think there's a time and a place to be able to stand up for your kid. I think that these people volunteer their time to be able to help these kids develop. I put the trust in these people to be able to do the right thing, as I said. If that's my kid out there and he's screwing off and he's not paying attention and he's doing all these things and the coach pulls him aside or even makes an example of him during practice by calling him out on his nonsense so that everybody can see, then so fucking be it. Because guess what? Us as adults, it happens to us too at work. And if we had learned how to stay focused, if we learned that we are not the center of attention, that when you are part of a team, you are to work as a team, you're to move as a team, and you win and lose as a team, then the ability to be a better adult and the ability of a person to work together in a group as an adult, I think it greatly heightens your skill set in those areas. And I think you start to understand that as a unit and as a whole, you can be way more productive. Individuals are great. There's a lot of time for people to shine as an individual in different areas, but working together as a team is really a primary function. You know, there are very few jobs out there where you're not on a team and your team where you are put together in a group to be able to achieve a goal. And I think it's important that those skills are learned. So, like I said, these people that volunteer their time in order to be able to help develop our kids and help referee some of these games and help be a part of the process, let's be a little gentle on them and let's give them some of the respect that they deserve for donating their time to be able to help the kids. Like I said, there probably will be a time and a place where you might have to be a little bit more vocal, but give them the opportunity to do the right thing. Let's just not jump down their throats and start giving them shit just because we think our kid is a rock star when they may or may not be a rock star. And even if your kid is highly athletic, they need to understand that their success lies on how well the team does. And yes, in certain sports, baseball for instance, if you're a pitcher, like yes, you can shine on your own as a pitcher. At the same time, when batters make contact, you need the support of your team behind you to be able to feel the ball to help your statistics be better. So always remember that you are better off listening and working together than you are trying to be the lone wolf. With that said, thank you guys very much for listening this week. I hope you tune in more often. Please don't forget to check out the Instagram page, Brewed for Life Podcast and Baines Brewing, and check out everything that we have up on YouTube. Thank you guys again, and I hope you have a great week.